The ugly financial impact of the pandemic on the government services we all rely on is starting to rear its head, especially when it comes to public transportation. Penny Daflos is live at the commercial Broadway station in Vancouver. And Penny, transit officials say major service cuts are coming if they don't get help. What kind of cuts are we talking about?
Well, Mijong, they couldn't really be very specific today, but they do say that transit service in much of the region is going to look very different if they don't get help from senior levels of government. So figuring out which bus routes could be gone altogether, how much time we could be looking at more between SkyTrains, which road maintenance projects could be delayed. All of that work begins this week. This is what morning rush hour now looks like on transit, and the roads aren't much busier. Driving is down 60%, so gas tax revenues have dried up. And with ridership down 80%, TransLink is in major financial trouble as it loses $2.5 million a day.
I do need to be upfront with the residents of Metro Vancouver. The changes that are going to have to be contemplated are going to be significant. Our transit system in the region will not be recognizable a month or two from now unless we are able to get support.
Upwards of $200 million of support from the provincial and federal governments, which have been focused on medical resources, emergency income payments, and propping up businesses. But mayors warn without a transit bailout,
basically the economy starts to grind to a complete halt. All those workers who would take transit to work, if those services are no longer there, they're going to have to find other ways in. And lots of people have ditched their cars, for example. What do they have to do? Buy a car?
The provincial government acknowledges even with service cuts now in place, transit is how essential workers are getting to hospitals and grocery stores. We are committed to finding a balanced solution to the challenges facing TransLink, says the municipal affairs minister. The U.S. has already established a $25 billion transit bailout, $538 million of which is going to the Seattle area.
I think we recognize even when restrictions are lifted, we don't expect transit ridership on day one to go back to where it is, that it'll actually be a slow process to get back to public transit use and even driving for that matter.
So, Penny, what has TransLink done to reduce costs in case they don't get a government bailout?
Well, they have reduced some bus service. They've cut back on some runs of the West Coast Express and the C-Bus, but they have not laid anybody off yet. They are considering selling off land, delaying some infrastructure projects potentially, but they're not looking at raising fares because they say it just doesn't have enough of an impact to their bottom line. I am told, though, that everything is on the table at an emergency meeting of the Mayor's Council coming up on Thursday, Mija.
All right, thank you, Penny.